Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Angel Williams, legacy stylist at Sunset Concierge and host of Legacy and Tea. And today I am so excited to have with us Deltra Kroemer. Hey, Deltra.
Hi.
Hi, how are you today?
I am very good. I actually have my cup of tea.
Ooh, I don't have my tea today. How could I? I always feel like people are best at introducing themselves. So if you can, just tell us a little bit about you.
Of course. So as you said, my name is Deltra. I'm a 35 years young mama of 5 beautiful, amazing girls who I have always home educated. So I call myself a home educator. That's pretty much always been my main job. And other than that, I'm a big nature lover, big call myself a chain tea drinker because I pretty much always have some tea close by.
Mm-hmm.
And I am also living with breast cancer, MBC as we call it, and very involved in advocacy work.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your journey and your diagnosis and where you are today.
Yep. So in 2019, geez, which doesn't seem as long ago as it kind of is now. In summer of 2019, I don't remember the exact moment or what I was doing, but I discovered a lump in my left breast.
Mm-hmm.
That myself, like many women my age, and younger do.
Mm-hmm.
So I discovered a lump myself. I wasn't feeling concerned about it, like at all, which is kind of funny because I can be like an anxious person. But I wasn't, mainly because I didn't have a history of breast cancer in my family.
Okay.
And I kind of figured, like a lot of people outside the breast cancer community do, that, that was kind of a big factor.
Mm-hmm.
But even though I wasn't concerned about it all, I went ahead and made an appointment to see my doctor. And I'm very grateful that my doctor took it seriously, because I hear a lot of things from young women who get very brushed off, and if that's you, then definitely push, advocate for yourself. My doctor wasn't very concerned either, but still went ahead and scheduled an ultrasound for me. So I went and saw my doctor Monday. My ultrasound was that Friday. And I really was not concerned until the ultrasound tech seemed concerned, when you're laying there getting an ultrasound and the tech seemed concerned, no matter who the ultrasound is for, that's when you get concerned. And she brought a doctor to look at what she was looking at. And from there, the doctor was just like, you're really young. It's probably just, some sort of fibroids or whatever. But they still went ahead and scheduled me a biopsy. Okay. And went for that biopsy the following week. And I mean, the lady doing my biopsy was really awesome. It went really smoothly. And she's still one of my favorites on my care team. She just, was really comforting and was basically like, so let's get this done. If it's nothing, great, I don't have to see you again. If it's something, then, I'm there for you, and, we'll get through this together.
Right.
Something I think everyone wants to hear when they're in that kind of situation. So just 3 days after the biopsy, I get a phone call from that breast surgeon and oncologist, and she, let me know, I don't normally do this. Normally I would call you into my office, but I have a vacation next week, and I just wanted to let you know that we got back your biopsy results, and unfortunately it is cancer. And then I kind of don't know what she said after that.
Right.
This kind of goes like, what?
Right.
But basically, she was wonderful. And she just let me know that even though she was going away on vacation for, I think it was actually like 2 weeks, that her team was just going to go ahead and get started on, caring for me. And from there, it was just like a whirlwind those next 2 weeks of scans, more doctor visits than I had ever had in my life, probably that few weeks. But she was being very thorough, which I'm grateful for. Thoroughness brought me two things. Genetic testing, which I highly recommend to people. So that let us know that I had a BRCA mutation. So that kind of, helped with us know, okay, this is why this happened.
Okay.
For the risks, maybe for your own family and such. So it helped with that. And then it brought staging. So I got full body scans, which I sometimes hear other people don't. And that allowed us to discover that it had already spread to my liver.
Okay.
A spot in my liver. So that bumped me up to stage 4, which is metastatic.
Right.
So I have been thriving with that since summer of 2019. I started chemo about a month after getting my diagnosis, which is a long time to some people. I really just had faith and was just, kind of praying for my own, like safety and everything, as I just, I didn't want to like rush into things. I wanted to take time and, but yeah, since then, since diagnosis in August 2019, I've been doing really well, which I'm grateful for, feeling really well overall. And my liver, on my liver is gone, and I feel intact.
Wow.
And I haven't had any other metastasis since then.
Awesome. Wow. So how do you feel like your mindset from hearing that information almost 2 years ago to today? What's your approach on life?
So my mindset has absolutely evolved, which I'm grateful for. Of course, I think anyone in those first days of diagnosis, it can feel like a blur. You're kind of in a shock, you're scared, because anyone hearing, metastatic, you just automatically think like that, For me, I think two things that really helped me were diving into community. Community was a huge thing for me. So I reached out, and as scary as it was to connect with other people in the cancer community, it really helped me because no one was going to understand what I was going through.
Right.
So community saved me, and also therapy. I'm a huge advocate for therapy, finding a great therapist. I know there are therapists that specialize in oncology and dealing with cancer patients. I already had my own personal therapist who I for 2 years after that. So I stuck with her. But yeah, I just went from a mindset, I think, of death to just, living and thriving. So, and advocacy work and helping others who are newly diagnosed has really helped me.
So you mentioned about community and finding other people. How do you think people should approach others who are dealing with such an illness? Because I know we've spoken about survivorship versus terminal. And so what should the approach be when you're dealing with someone in that situation?
Do you mean newly diagnosed or cancer patients connecting with others?
I mean, people on the outside. Like for me, when I'm dealing with someone, I'm always feeling very careful. Like, do I want to bring it up? Should I totally avoid it and try to act like it's just, regular, or, how you feel like you're tippy-toeing sometimes. So in terms of that.
Understandable. I think one of the best things someone did for me when I was newly diagnosed was to just be really real about it. I had a friend who took me out just a few days after my diagnosis. I think it was kind of to distract me, but
Right.
she just took a moment because we were doing a lot of small talk, and I don't think either of us are really small talkers, but she just took a moment and she was like, "Hey, do you want to talk about what's going on with cancer, or do you want to talk about anything else?"
Right.
Just like giving me an in or an out, because obviously it's there and lingering, but obviously I'm also much more than my diagnosis.
Right.
But I think it's not helpful to just act like it isn't there at all. Um, yeah, I think it's most helpful to just kind of be real, but not treat us like we're just that diagnosis or it's the
Right.
only thing on in our life, because life still continues. I still have, kids to take care of. I still have hobbies. There's just so much more to talk about than cancer. So I think
Would
it's good. Yeah. Approach it kind of like you'd approach almost any difficult or challenging thing.
Okay, so I know we've spoken a little bit about survivorship versus terminal. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yes. So obviously, when someone's stage 4 metastatic, they're considered terminal, which means we don't get to a point of survivorship. We can be no evidence of disease, which can sort of be the same, but we're never like treated the way an early stager is. Whereas early stagers might go through treatment and then it's like they get a scan, they don't see the cancer anymore, so they're told, "You're done, yay, goodbye." You
Right.
don't have to come get treatment anymore. For us, it's always an ongoing thing. We're always in some sort of treatment to basically keep the beast that is cancer at bay in our bodies. You're always looking for stable on a scan or no evidence of disease. But we don't get to a point of, where we get to like do a big celebration. We celebrate little milestones, like you live scan to scan and you celebrate good ones as they come, but we don't get that like big moment of feeling like you're done with cancer and you're at a point of survivorship.
Got
Um,
you.
those are kind of that's what's different about it.
Okay. So after your diagnosis, how did you decide who to speak to, how to have these conversations? I know you said that you were a proud mom. Um, how did you decide who should know in your life and how did you approach that?
Well, of course, I think that kind of depends on people's personality too.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a very open book sort of person, and I knew that I wanted support and I wanted people to understand what I was dealing with. Um, I did not want to feel like I had to hide it in any way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Cancer can be really tricky to hide, but I know people do and they have their reasons for it. But for me, it was a really easy decision. I took my time with it. I decided when it felt right for me to like announce it. And I did. I like announced my diagnosis on my social media, just to make it easy.
Oh,
Boom, let me just tell all my like friends and stuff that way, except for obviously like immediate family and really, really close friends. I just announced it that way through my social media. But for me, it was just an easy decision because I wanted people to understand what I was dealing with, especially since I knew that I wasn't going to like get to survivorship, to a point where it was like something I was done with. Since I knew it was going to be an ongoing thing, there was no way that I felt like I wanted to keep
right.
it to myself. So it was an easy decision. It took me about a month, because I had to like come to a point where I felt like I was accepting it myself
Right.
before I could share with other people.
Mm-hmm. And so I know you mentioned that you already had a therapist at that point. Did you get coaching to find the words or the approach, or was that more of a personal journey?
It was a very personal journey. Um, that part wasn't too difficult for me because I've always been a writer.
Oh,
So it was easy for me to come up with my own wording when I made that huge post and shared my diagnosis.
Did it surprise you the way people reacted, or?
No, I think it was pretty, the responses I got were what I expected,
Okay.
but it didn't really make them easier to deal with, because it's like you don't want pity, but then you also expect people to feel, you know,
Empathize.
about an unfortunate situation.
Right.
But ultimately, I was really relieved to share and grateful for the support and how people stepped up and came around me, because that isn't always everyone's response. Unfortunately, a lot of people see, people who they thought were friends like fall away from their life because it's, a challenging diagnosis to deal with.
And I wonder if that goes back to just the approach, just not knowing how to deal with your friend in that situation.
Definitely feel like that probably has a lot to do with it. I think it can be triggering for some people. Obviously, if they've dealt with cancer themselves or they've lost someone to cancer, it might be triggering for them.
Right.
But ultimately, I do feel like it has a lot to do with people not knowing what to say. They might not want to read, and I've had people tell me, hey, I'm sorry it's taken me so long to reach out. I just didn't know what to say, or I didn't want to say the wrong thing. And it's like, hey, just saying something is better than saying nothing, just letting us know, like I'm here for you. And we can all be honest, because we've all been in situations where we didn't know what to say. So that's perfectly fine.
Do you feel like someone can say the wrong thing?
Oh, yes. I think a lot of us say the wrong thing in lots of situations, but I still sometimes feel like it's better than saying nothing, or, at least if that person is open to being corrected or hearing,
Right.
maybe that's not helpful, but this is, because people will always say the wrong thing in certain situations especially when it's just tough situations, and life gives us those situations where we don't know what to say.
Right.
And
That's why it's so important for us to start these conversations. Um, so with your children and your family, so you had that conversation some time ago. Is it an ongoing conversation? Is it always a topic of discussion?
So it's not always a topic of discussion. Cancer definitely does not rule our world or anything. But I've always been really open, honest with my kids regarding every topic in life. And so I took the same approach with cancer, was just open and honest. And it's an ongoing conversation. Yes, it's not a one and done type of conversation. When I shared with my kids, I kind of share with them separately because they're at different ages. So obviously they'll have different understandings. And it is just an ongoing conversation. I think it is for anyone with this diagnosis because, things can go from better to worse and things like that. And so you kind of rejoice and share when you have good scans, and you discuss what you need to when there's hard things coming up.
Right.
Age appropriate ways, but in honest ways. So.
And are there resources that you use to help you with that, especially since they are different ages?
Yes, um, I think that I definitely relied on my own therapist for that.
Okay.
And I'd recommend people, if they have a therapist, discuss it. But pretty much everyone in the cancer community has social workers.
Mm-hmm.
Most cancer centers do, and they're a great resource for that. My social worker at my cancer center was more helpful than my therapist. Like my therapist was able to give me some tips on how to, talk to my children about certain things, but my social worker was really helpful as far as resources. She was able to recommend, great books and organizations that are specifically for families dealing with cancer. So that was really helpful, and even some projects for us to do together. So that was
Okay.
extremely helpful.
So, how do you feel about the importance of legacy and end of life planning on this journey?
I think this kind of journey definitely helps you face those things and their importance. I personally really wish that, it was just not so taboo in our community, because it's like everyone knows that like we're all going to die. It's not like I got dealt a card that's like, hey, you're gonna die. Other people are not. Just these few people, no. It's like all of us. I just might know how. Um,
Right,
have some idea maybe of when, but I don't even.
right.
Um, yeah, so I just wish it was more normalized, because it would be helpful. I think planning, helps ourselves to kind of face, that we're not going to be here forever, and maybe relieve some anxiety. But I think the biggest thing is that, it helps those that you leave behind. It helps
Absolutely.
me, know what was important to you, and your children know what was important to you. So that's why I think it's really important. Um, for me, it's not been a source of, you know, um, stress or pain, or I mean, I can get emotional when I'm really doing like heavy deep thinking about these
Right.
things, getting into planning. Um, but ultimately, I think it's just such a stress reliever. It's like, okay, I've dealt with this. These things are laid out. There's no questions about what's important to me or what I want my family to know. And so I really think it's important for everyone, like diagnosis or no diagnosis, to make time for these things.
Hmm. I definitely agree. Everlasting acts of love. That's what I call it. Um,
Absolutely, it is.
so I know that you're involved with a couple organizations, Project Life MBC. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, Project Life MBC is brand spanking new.
Okay.
We just had what we called like a soft launch of our website um, on March 1st, and now April 1st, it will be like completely open. Great resources. It is actually the baby, the virtual baby of a good friend and fellow NBCer, Leslie Flynn. She has been living with NBC much longer than myself. I think 8 years she's been living with NBC. And so she's seen a lot of what's out there as far as resources for those living with metastatic breast cancer. And even though I haven't been in the community as long as she has, I've felt and seen a lot of the same things, and that's the lack of resources and community specific to us. It's really difficult to kind of, I don't want to say mingle or whatever, but it's kind of challenging to be involved in things that are a mix of late stagers and early stagers, because it's just such different needs, I think, and
Right.
mindsets,
Hmm.
um, and things that we want to discuss. Things that are important to us might be different. So she decided to create Project Life NBC, something specifically for those living with NBC and also their loved ones. So our children, caregivers, there'll be some resources for them as well on the website. But it's a virtual wellness house.
Awesome.
And so it'll focus on the whole person's needs. So there are things like getting in touch with the creative side through art therapy, and also cooking classes, and lots of focus, I will say, on living and being able to live well, but also we'll still be focused on planning for dying well as well.
Right.
Um,
Okay, and so we'll have the information and the links in the description below of this video. And then I know that you're also involved with The Breast of Us. I
for the
love
breast,
that name. What is it?
me too. For the breast of us, I
For
love
the
it
Breast
too.
of Us.
Caught
So
my attention immediately.
yeah, I love that. So can you tell us a little bit about that organization?
Yeah, so for the rest of us, I believe they are, fairly new, but they Started the same year I was diagnosed, 2019, just earlier that year.
Okay.
Founders are Jess and Marissa, and I've just been lucky enough to be one of their what they call baddie ambassadors.
Ooh.
They are a organization, obviously, called resources for women of color.
Okay.
I know that one of the reasons they decided to start it was because they were having a problem when they would Google. They couldn't find any images, of what women of color will look like after certain, surgeries and things of that nature. So they wanted to be able to provide that for women. And on their website, you'll find so many great resources and lots of faces of women of color, Black women, Asian women. And it's just been really nice getting to be an advocate with them.
Okay, and we'll also have the information for that in the description below. So how can someone on the outside of MBC support the community or get involved in some way?
Obviously, a big thing is donations. I would ask people to say donating to organizations and knowing where that money goes, especially in October, where things can be very pink washed, lots of people selling, pink things, but not actually like giving that money.
Right.
To real causes that are going to make efforts, to improve things. So I would definitely say knowing where your money is going, donating for actual research, to cure metastatic breast cancer, make it a chronic, illness, is a big way to help out. And just educating yourself, getting involved. I think it's challenging, because it can take an emotional toll. Mm-hmm. But cancer can happen to anyone, so I think it's worth it to get involved and to be educated. Obviously, I think it's important for everyone to know their body because I wouldn't wish cancer on anyone.
Right.
So one way, I think, one thing that makes me feel good is knowing that everyone is just not so much doing exams on themselves, but just being aware of their body and staying on top of their own wellness checkups. So.
Right. Okay, so this was so informative. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I'm glad. I think I've kind of said everything I want to say. I'll just say again to make sure even if a pandemic that everyone stays on top of their wellness checkups and aware of their bodies, because that's kind of the best thing you can do for yourself. Also, highly recommend everyone kind of take out time. I know we're all living our best lives, and I'm definitely all about that. But take out time to think about your death too, because it's a natural thing and natural part of life. So.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. Guys, we will have all the information and links available in the description below. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.